massive flooding, large-scale evacuations. This is another devastating consequence of the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
The Novokakova Dam, located on the Dnipro River in southern Ukraine, was a vital source of power and water for thousands of residents. It's the water used to cool the nearby Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, one of Europe's largest reservoirs at 240 kilometres long. It held 18 cubic kilometres of water, and last night it was blown up, forcing thousands of residents from up to 80 towns to flee the torrent. Ukraine declared it a Russian attack.
Russia has detonated a bomb of mass environmental destruction, and this is real ecocide.
While the Kremlin accused Ukraine of an act of sabotage.
I mean, come on, let's be obvious. I mean, why would Ukraine do this to its own territory and people? Flood its land, force tens of thousands to leave their homes. Just doesn't make sense.
With the humanitarian impact comes environmental carnage, with 150 tonnes of oil leaking into the Dnipro.
Environmental devastation, destruction of newly planted crops.
This is a massive blow to a food production sector, which, as we know, is already significantly damaged.
This is an outrageous act which demonstrates once again the brutality of Russia's war in Ukraine.
It's a critical blow to infrastructure, with Ukraine on the verge of launching its spring counter-offensive in a final bid to end the grinding war.
The sheer magnitude of the catastrophe will only become fully realized in the coming days.
The floodgates of suffering have been overflowing for more than a year, and that must stop.
These pictures are extraordinary, aren't they? And it just seems so unnecessarily cruel.
Yeah.
This whole place is being completely destroyed. The poor Ukrainians.
Yeah, well, this is what happens in a war, though, is like you make calculations. Because one of the elements of this that's easy to overlook is, let's assume Russia did it for the purpose of the conversation. We don't know, let's assume. This hurts them as well, because that water goes to the bits of Crimea that they annexed. So these Russian populations, they're now going to be denied this water. There are going to be Russian troops that get moved. But the argument would be that they would have looked at that and said that's a price worth paying because it disrupts what Ukraine was trying to do to Russia, the counter-offensive, and it delays that for a few months, etc. These are the calculations you make in war. One of the things that's fascinating, I didn't know about this at all until I was reading it today, is the Soviets did a very similar thing on this exact river in 1941 to stop the Nazis advancing.
Wow.
And that killed a whole lot of Soviet citizens, but it was something they were prepared to do in order to stop the Nazi advance. Like, sometimes we just have these really, I guess, naive views of the way war works and the things that people are prepared to do in order to win a war or at least stave off a defeat.
It's very shocking, and hearing that, they're now almost 500 days into the war.
Yeah.
And I think there's a sense of normalcy that comes with it. We just kind of get on. We're like, there's a war going, but it's like these things are happening, and it's horrific. And this one made the news, but
it feels
stuff
hot
happening
for a
every
week
day.
and then it's,